Hi everyone, it's Christopher, Mono County Library Director and co-host of the Oxygen Starved podcast, and it's Book Talk Friday time again. So, the first book this week is one I've really just started. It's called The Phone Booth at the Edge of the World by Laura and May Messina, and let me tell you, so far, it's beautiful. Now, in March of 2011, you may remember Japan was hit by one of the worst tsunamis in its history, killing almost 20,000 people. One man, Sasaki Itaru, who lives near one of the worst hit areas, later installed a phone booth at the foot of his garden with a phone in it that is unconnected but nevertheless open to anyone who lost someone. It's called the Wind Phone, and thousands of people go to it each year to place a call to their lost loved one to help process their grief. Recently, novelist Messina visited it and was so moved by the experience that she wrote this novel around it. Now, the blurb reads in part, when Yui loses her mother and daughter in the tsunami, she wonders how she will ever carry on. One day at work, she hears a story about a man on Whale Mountain who has an old telephone booth in his garden with a disconnected phone inside. As news of the phone booth and its wind phone spreads, people start coming from miles around to speak to loved ones, finding comfort in sharing the details of their daily lives with those they have lost. But when Yui, numb with grief, makes her own pilgrimage, she can't bring herself to pick up the receiver. Then she meets Takeshi, a widower whose own daughter has stopped talking in the wake of her mother's death. Now the story carries on from there. And Kirkus Review says, Messina writes in a way that's evocative of Kazuo Ishiguro, but in an opposite way. While Ishiguro leads with comfort and hints at the sadness to come, Messina offers the grief and sadness first, but offers the reader a trail of breadcrumbs towards future happiness. Another review, Shelf Awareness, says it's thoughtful and tender, full of small daily moments and acts of kindness. Messina's novel is a testament to the power of community in moving forward after loss. Now, my pick for the older title this week is The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkaiw. This came out in 2018. It's a look at a lost generation, a group of friends in Chicago in the 1980s who almost inevitably, one after another, succumb to the AIDS epidemic. The main character is Yale Tishman, who is working hard to secure a collection of paintings for his gallery from an elderly woman who, it turns out, was connected to a previous lost generation, soldiers who died in World War I and the revolutionary art world that thrived just after. Yale's younger sister Fiona is the other central character in this novel, and she's closer to the present, looking back at that close-knit group of friends in the 80s from her present-day vantage point as a middle-aged mother estranged from her daughter and new grandchild, who threatened to become for her a personal lost generation if she can't reconnect with them. Fiona's story and Yale's story weave together in this novel, and unlike the grief that comes from a single cataclysmic event, as in Messina's book, The Great Believers examines the grief experienced by both victims and survivors that comes out of repeated loss over time. This novel came out to rave reviews, and Makkaiw is masterful in taking on such an overwhelming topic with delicacy and humanity that draws you into what is at its heart a beautiful and in the end hopeful story. This is The Great Believers by Rebecca Makkaiw. This is The Phone Booth at the Edge of the World by Laura Messina. Two great novels available at Mono County Library. Stop in and grab them, or another great read. In the meantime, stay safe and happy reading.